The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. To summarize the title card, because there's a lot, Buckaroo Banzai is mixed race, though his Japanese ancestry is just sort of implied. He's a brilliant neurosurgeon, but also a martial artist, studied particle physics, and formed a group of scientist friends called the Hong Kong Cavaliers, who are also a band. What do you do today? Well, as with any call to adventure, it begins with a rocket car, being readied for the big moment, so huge, in fact, that the Secretary of Defense is on hand to observe. But it's going to have to wait, because Dr. Banzai is knuckles deep in someone's brain at the moment.
No. Don't tug on that. You never know what it might be attached to.
Am I the only one who pictured the patient kicking a nurse in the face? His buddy, Rawhide, explains that Buckaroo is using a laser to remove a tumor, and then will install a device so the patient can just speak and his brain will tell the body what to do.
Or throw the harpoon. People are going to come from all over. This boy's an Eskimo.
This movie is filled with so much weird dialogue at times that I was wondering if Eskimo was a term for something else. Like it was an attempt to say he was so cool he might as well be an Eskimo. Well, surgery has gone so well that Buckaroo is inviting Dr. Sidney Zweibel, a.k.a. New Jersey, to permanently join his little entourage. Can always use one more scientist who can sing or dance. I think Oppenheimer said that originally. Well, now that he's finished removing a brain tumor, Buckaroo can finally get on with driving his rocket car.
Set and press check. Radios, radar, and transponder. Set and standby.
Flux capacitor is in place, that's good. Well, atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed, and the rocket car is off.
He's fast. I'll give Banzai that. But one heat-seeking missile and he's history.
I had no idea this race was so cutthroat. He's almost to the end of the test. Oh, looks like the test is going into overtime. Apparently this is phase 2, and the instrument readings are not promising. But you don't live up to a name like Buckaroo Banzai without thumbing your nose at danger, so not only does he disregard them, but he intentionally aims his rocket car at a mountain. And then he drives into it. I don't mean he crashes into it. He drives into it. Like there's a cave only he can enter in a Roadrunner cartoon. Oh great, you drove straight into purgatory. He comes out the other side of the mountain, and now he's ready to stop. Matter of fact, he jumps out the window. He is just that done with this experiment. While he's waiting for everyone else to catch up with him, he's on the other side of the mountain after all. He finds some kind of slime on the windshield, and underneath some kind of tissue. Great, that's some interdimensional roadkill. Watching the interview from an asylum for the criminally insane is Dr. Lizardo, who is very annoyed at Professor Hikita making use of this technology. Apparently back in 1938, the two of them at Princeton were working on the project, and Lizardo was going to go through a wall the same way that Buckaroo did through a mountain. But he launched prematurely. Consequently, he only went partway through the wall, where creatures on the other side were trying to steal his wallet, I guess. It must have caused him to become possessed, because he emerges with incredible strength and acts like a lunatic. Not to worry, he's giving himself shock treatments. Matter of fact, the orderly, after dropping off a care package, confiscates the TV, thinking that's been sucking down all the juice. Lizardo says he doesn't care. He's going home soon. He's built a thingy. So, that explains everything. Meanwhile, in New Jersey, Buckaroo Banzai and his band are playing because it's the best way to unwind after driving through a mountain. The image of Clancy Brown like this, for some reason I hear him singing Billy Joel in the Kurgan voice. Sing us a song, you're the piano man. The sax really adds to this piece. My music tastes are broad, so for me, category is less important than just a plain good old song. And so I really like when instruments often considered outside of rock are incorporated into it. I know this is getting off the subject, but it's my show, so I don't care. If you have never heard the original In Excess version of Never Tear Us Apart, well, you have been robbed. And in that song, you not only get a really amazing use of synthesizer strings, and the capacity to construct a rock love ballad without going big. But part of its charm is because halfway through it puts the sax center stage. And instead of being a cry from the mountaintop, it instead becomes an intimate whisper. Anyway, yeah, this song works, and you can really thank the saxophones for carrying it. Well, Buckaroo stops the music prematurely because, like the Princess and the Pea, he can sense that someone out there isn't grooving. There's a girl in the audience crying, Penny, although Buckaroo seems to think it's Peggy. She's down on her luck, and the crowd doesn't really care.
Don't be mean. We don't have to be mean. Because, remember, no matter where you go, there you are.
The film didn't originate that quote, but it certainly helped to popularize it. While it has many different interpretations, in this context, it's saying something about yourself. Later in the film, Dr. Lizardo says, "Character is what you are in the dark." What that means is that when no one else can see you, when there will be no consequences to your actions, how you behave in such a moment is a true reflection of your character. If you only will do something to avoid the judgment of others, then that's not actually a sign of character. Babylon 5 fans might recognize this from Comes the Inquisitor. You make this sacrifice willingly, no fame, no armies or banners or cities to celebrate your name. You will die alone and unremarked and forgotten. How do you know the chosen ones? No greater love hath a man than he laid down his life for his brother, not for millions, not for glory, not for fame, for one person in the dark where no one will ever know or see. Buckaroo's remarks is thus a reminder you are metaphorically never alone in the dark. Every time you're there, you've brought along yourself to watch and to judge and to see the person that you are, and to thus question, is that really who I want to be? In this dark room now, do you want to be the voice that heaps cruelty on someone already suffering, simply for your impatience? Do you want to, in an already cruel world, add to that equation of misery?
I'm gonna sing this song for you, Peggy.
Penny.
And anybody else out there.
Well, that's a fine sentiment, but Penny seems ready to just check out and puts a gun to her head. But someone bumps her arm and she shoots the ceiling. Naturally, the Hong Kong Cavaliers whip out their own guns because they're rock and roll scientists. Of course they're armed. So while she's being taken out and arrested on the assumption that she was trying to assassinate Buckaroo, Dr. Lizardo is leaving the asylum.
Operator, I want to make a call to Mr. John Big Booty.
John Big Booty is like evil Sir Mix-a-Lot. So while Sir Mix-a-Lot likes big butts and he cannot lie, John Big Booty hates big butts and cannot tell the truth. If Jennifer Lopez must avoid the door that will lead to her death and can ask only one question of them,
John.
This better be collect, Doc.
well, at least Lizardo didn't go for a half measure, huh? He tells John Big Booty to kidnap the professor and get Banzai's overdrive, then discharges himself from the asylum, destroying a Buckaroo Banzai arcade game on the way out. I think, and I'm being serious, that licensing Buckaroo is part of what funds his various projects. While I'm pretty sure the Department of Defense bankrolled his rocket car, he's got a lot of other irons in the fire, and we haven't even gotten to the watermelons yet. We pick up with Buckaroo on his way to see Penny, and turns out calling her Peggy wasn't just a joke. Apparently his late wife was named Peggy, and she's the spitting image of Penny. So while that personal matter is on his mind, he learns about Lizardo escaping and vanishing, and about some weird atmospheric disturbances. Oh, and speaking of weird...
All right, let's get on back to 3 great modern country hits in a row.
They say dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Fine, thanks to you, but more importantly, congratulations. You drove through a mountain.
I did.
You drove right through a mountain the other day. You did it right after you left me with the operation. You hadn't even said anything about it. Didn't even mention you were going to do
Sydney,
it.
these are
Man, I love Jeff Goldblum. Only he can take a line about congratulating someone for driving through a mountain and make it sound like Buckaroo just made it to the ping pong championship semifinals.
Where do you hail from, Doc? New Jersey, Fort Lee.
Where are your spurs at?
Was he making fun of me?
Well, you do kind of look like you should be doing a live-action version of Ernie and Bert Go West. They're here because this is the prison where Penny is, and while she's hostile at first, over time, his intrigue with her piques her curiosity. She was born in the same place as Peggy, but grew up elsewhere. She was adopted. Well, that fills in the blank. Identical twins separated at birth. So Buckaroo says that he's not pressing charges, and he'll take responsibility for her. Oh, and Perfect Tommy needs to give her his coat. She's not quite 80s enough yet. Well, time for the big presentation by the Secretary of Defense on what happened with the rocket car.
To move this thing along, perhaps some of you noticed we have a motorcycle convention rolling in here. We're a little short of time.
Professor Snake has a symposium on quantum entanglement this afternoon. Buckaroo explains that his parents died in pursuit of a dream of contacting alien life, but not out in space, in another dimension of our own world. Though there is life out in space, as seen by the aliens approaching Earth in this vehicle. Buckaroo explains the idea of what he did, the fact that seemingly solid matter has so much empty space in it. Professor Hikita and Dr. Lizardo were testing that, and Hikita shows off the oscillating overthruster that makes it all work.
Oh, I get it. What you're saying is that oppositely charged particles collide and blow each other up in a burst of energy. Like a tiny big bang, like a baby bang.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly dangerous. Buckaroo shows the life form he pulled off his rocket car, but before he can get into wowing them with that, a call comes in from the president. That means that he misses out on the real question.
What about the Pentagon? The possibility of war in the 8th dimension, Mr. Secretary.
Look, let's not go off half-cocked. We don't even know if they have oil yet. Well, turns out the phone call isn't from the president. It's from the aliens. Man, aliens are dicks.